All right, guys, we're back. And sorry about all of that. I was trying it out on Zoom, and clearly that didn't work because we didn't have the chat feature. And half of tonight is all about the chat. So hopefully you found me and you're watching this with me as I get ready to talk about life as a psychic medium. And that's my free talk tonight on this Tuesday night. So as you guys come on in, say hello and let me know that you're here before I get started. So I'll give it like a couple minutes because I was going back and forth between Zoom and YouTube. Yeah, not doing that again. So now I know that I can stream live from Zoom to Facebook and we can still chat, but you can't do it to YouTube apparently because there's not going to be any chatting allowed. Hi, Melissa. Thank goodness you found me and you're able to join in with me here. I don't know what I was doing. So hello, Michelle. Good to see you. Gosh, I haven't seen you since the retreat we did in October, right? Yeah, I think that's the last time I saw you. Hello, Leah. Welcome. Come on in. So I'm just getting it started, giving everybody just a little bit of time to come on in. And it says, please wait while we try reconnecting. Okay. So if you can just go ahead and like, I know some of you are new to YouTube and you're kind of like, what is going on here? If you can just like my video, that would be awesome. It's going to show support for my channel. And hi, Lee. Hey, Jen, good to see you. You got an off night tonight? You can come join us. Yeah, there is a small lag between me talking and then the video coming through. It happens. Major things happening in your life. Wonderful. Well, I know I'm one of those changes because you're on my doTERRA team. Oh, thank you, Leah. Yeah, if you guys can like my video, that would be really awesome. It shows support and it kind of boosts my video in the YouTube land. Hello, Jen Smith. Hi, Melissa Harvey. Wow, you guys are really on it tonight. That's awesome. Thank you guys for joining me. Now, for those of you that are new to my channel, whether you're watching it live or on the recording when it posts later, my name is Uma. I'm the owner of the Lotus and the Light Metaphysical Center, Lotus Wellness Center. I'm the president of the Manassas Holistic Chamber of Commerce, and I'm an elite doTERRA wellness advocate. So I have 4 businesses, of which one of them is where I practice as a psychic medium. So this is my channel, The Lotus and the Light. So if you want to stay in touch with me, please feel free to subscribe to my channel. For those of you that are watching live, if you're not subscribed, all you have to do is downsize the chat, and then you'll see this little thing that says subscribe to this channel, and you can subscribe to it. If you click the little bell, by the way, every time I go live like this, you guys get a notification, hey, Uma's live, and you can come and join me. So hi to everyone who's coming on in. All right, we're gonna give it 2 minutes and we're gonna get started. So for those of you that are here with me live, hi Stephanie, good to see, who's Caribbean Queen? That must be a Guyanese person, I have to say, has to be a Guyanese person. Hey Yaya, that's really cool. We have like everybody here, that's awesome. So while we're waiting, because I like to wait like 5 minutes, give everybody a chance to get in here. Oh, Arupa, hi, welcome. Hello, Passioness, that's a beautiful name. So yes, introduce yourselves. How many of you, while we're waiting for more people to come on in, how many of you believe, well, let me start this way. How many of you are actually practicing as a psychic or medium right now? Like professionally, like me, you do readings, you work festivals, you book private appointments. Anyone here right now that operates in that capacity? I'm going to give it some time because I know that there is a lag, and I know that Jen, yes, you do practice as a psychic and a medium. Wonderful. Anyone else? And Jen is from Canada. So this now has become international. This live stream here today has become international. Okay, so for those, okay, so right now it's just Jen and me. How many of you feel that you are psychic or a medium or both? I don't know how you put your hands up. Let me see. I guess you hit that little face, the emoji. Yeah, you can hit your emoji con and put like a hands. They have so many things here. Let's see. There you go. So if you feel that you are a psychic or a medium or both, go ahead and give a thumbs up like I just did. Jen did double hands. That's awesome. Okay. So, okay, there's Melissa, lone photographer. Good, good. So they have some psychics and mediums here too. Awesome. So you guys aren't working professionally yet, but you're hoping to work professionally, right? Awesome. How many of you are just curious? Put a heart. If you can find the heart emoji, go ahead and put a heart. How many of you are just curious about what this means, this being a psychic, being a medium, what life is like? Let's get some heart emojis. There's Caribbean Queen, Arupa. Okay. Yaya, Stephanie. Wonderful. So this is really good. We have a mixed bag here. We have people that are working professionally. We have people that know already that they are psychics or mediums, but they haven't started working professionally. And then we have people that are curious because they feel that they might have some situations, right? Right. So like Michelle Garcia has visions. Wonderful. So what is amazing to me about this is that the more I do this work, the more I realize we really, on some level, we're all psychic. Yeah, Jen Smith says intuitive and some visions. Wonderful. So my goal tonight is to share with you information that's been shared with me with my mentors, and also to give you a little bit about my background in psychic mediumship and to talk about my personal journey being a psychic, being a medium. And then also to leave some time at the end to answer any questions you have about what you're experiencing in your life. And remember, please, that everything I say here is just my impressions from my knowledge and my experience. Please don't take it as the be all end all. If I say something that offends you or I say something that goes against what you believe, please don't take it. Just drop it and leave it. Okay? It's just one perspective. It's not the be all end all. Okay, so one of the things that I've learned, and my mentor, well, let me give you a little bit of my background. I'm a psychic and a medium my whole life, like some of you are. Since I was a kid, I was able to see, talk, feel, and know spirit was there. And then as I got older, it affected my life. And then I finally got training. And my training started, my first class was about 2010. Okay, so about 10 years ago, I started my psychic training. I started with psychic training first. And then in 2014, I started with the mediumship training. So I've been to the Arthur Findlay College of Mediumship Sciences in Stansted, UK. I've been 4 times. So I spent 4 weeks at the Arthur Findlay College. I train at the Journey Within Church in Pompton Lakes, New Jersey, under Reverend Janet Nohavec. She's the minister of that church there. She's my mentor. I'm also in her ministry program. So by the end of this year, I will be a certified ordained minister. I'm so excited for that. And I also I used to train under John Holland. He's a noted psychic medium. And I currently train under Minister Colin Bates and Mavis Patilla. Okay, so those are my teachers. As you notice, most of them, aside from John Holland, they're British. So John Holland and Janet Nohavec, they're British. So the way that I've learned subscribes more to what I like to call the European form of mediumship. It's a little bit different than American mediumship. And it requires a lot of evidence and facts and factual based. Okay. So In my training, I learned a lot of things about being a psychic and a medium. One thing that I learned from Mavis Patilla is that psychics, everyone is psychic, not everyone is a medium. And I'm just going to start by asking, does everybody know the difference between a psychic and a medium? I'm going to assume you say yes. You know the difference between a psychic and a medium. So all of us are really psychic. We all have psychic impressions. How many times, let's play the hands up game again. So get your emojis ready. Okay. How many of you heard your phone ring and you knew who was calling before you answered the phone? Let's see hands, right? Thumbs up or hands. How many of you walk into a room and get a feeling of a presence there in the room, whether it's good or bad or indifferent? You can feel a presence in a room. Let's see some hands. There you go. How many of you had a premonition that came true? Yep, there we go. Awesome. How many of you have had dreams that came true? There we go. There's the hands again. See, like you guys are really on this. How many of you had a vision, like a prophetic vision that came true? Awesome. Good. So these are the signs of the psychics. And now for the signs for the mediums. How many of you can speak to spirit where you can hear a voice outside of your head where people can hear it too? So you're in a room and you hear a voice outside of your head and other people can hear the same voice as well. Okay. How many of you get like a thought drop where you're just doing something and then you just have this idea, I need to call this person, like just something completely random? Yeah. So you see, like, there are definitely some mediums in this group and there are definitely some psychics in this group. And then there's people that I can see that are both, right? So the thing is that we all are naturally this way. And for mediums especially, we are born this way. So the first thing I want to dispel with is that you have to do this work. Over the weekend, I worked the Illuminate Festival in Columbia and the Illuminate Festival at Fairfax. And I did 17 readings over the weekend. And one of those readings, a woman said to me, how do I get it to stop? Like the voices, the impressions and all, how do I get it to stop? And I just looked at her and I said, stop wanting it. Essentially is the answer, stop wanting it. Because the thing is that spirit cannot communicate to us or with us without our consent. There's this little thing called free will. And this planet is ruled by natural law, law of gravity, law of attraction, law of vibration, natural laws. So spirit on the other side, they're not superhuman, super powerful. They trump everything. They're just regular people like you and me who died and went over. And they subscribe to natural law just the way you and I do. And if our free will is there and our free will says, I may be born a medium, but I want no part of this, then they have to respect that. What I find, though, is that there is a lot of ego involved and people, it's like, look at me, please pay attention to me. So they have the gift, they get the messages and things like that, and then they want to act like they don't want to receive it. I'm not the one to come to with that kind of nonsense, right? I'm not the one. Because the thing is that you are playing with valuable information. You are playing with a really intricate process. And quite frankly, if I may speak freely, you're wasting time. You're wasting my time. You're wasting spirit's time. You're wasting time of everybody involved. So one of the first things I tell people, if you are a psychic or a medium, you have to make the decision that you're going to do this or you're not going to do this. And that way you don't confuse spirit on the other side. You don't confuse your client or your would-be client. You put it out there, right? So if you really don't want to hear from them or you don't want to be bothered, then you have to decide that this is not the life for you. Stop taking out the Ouija board. Stop reading the mediumship books. Stop going to psychic development classes and then being surprised that you're getting, right? That you're getting impressions. Stop. Just stop. Do yourself a favor. Do me a favor, because I'm a teacher and I get these people all the time. If you want to develop it, and you feel like this could be now it's not necessary for you to have to like say, I'm doing this all the way in and not know what's coming, because it's going to change. Trust me, it's going to change. But you have to at least have the mindset, like, I want to give this a go. And then I always have the option to cancel out. And I've seen that in the mentorship that I'm in. I've seen people drop out of mentorship, like my class with Mavis Patilla. I've seen people drop out and they've been very honest and said, this is not for me. This is not the life for me. Okay. So that's not wrong. What is wrong though is straddling the fence and then trying to call like a lot of attention to yourself. Like, look at me. I don't know why this is happening. Oh, it's happening because you want it to happen. So in the public, you're saying, no, I don't want this to happen. But at night in your bed, please, can I see something? Can I hear something? So make up your mind. That's the first thing I want to say. The second thing I want to say is, do not come to the psychic mediumship field if you are not mentally stable or emotionally calm. Don't do it. Okay? Because this is very taxing on you personally, on your relationships, on your mental health, on your emotional stability, on your physical health. It's very taxing. So if you are all over the place, you need to get yourself right before you come to this path and before you take mentorship or you find yourself a teacher. You need to really ground yourself and get calm, because this takes a lot out of you. Let's look at the mechanics of mediumship. And I'm speaking mostly about mediumship because this is the communication part. For communication to happen with people on the other side, we have different frequencies. Our frequency is denser. We are on a 3D planet. Spirit is not on a 3D planet. So they're lighter, they're higher vibration. So for us to talk and meet in the middle, that's why we're called a medium, we have to raise our vibration, and spirit has to descend their vibration so that we can meet in the middle and we can have some sort of communication. We use our emotions to do that. We use the energy of our feelings and our emotions to do that. That raising, that lowering, okay? It's happening on an emotional, mental level. So after I've communicated with spirit for a while, and that's done, the session's done, I have to lower myself back down. Now, because I'm a professional medium and I've been doing this for a while, I've learned how to lower myself back down even while having conversation. If you ever see me and Rob, we do once a month at our center, the Lotus and Light Metaphysical Center, we do once a month a mediumship demonstration. It's happening January 31st at the center. And when we're done, we don't, like usually when you see mediums perform, they leave the stage, they go backstage, they move away from people because they have to bring themselves down. Rob and I aren't afforded that luxury because, quite frankly, we don't have enough volunteers, okay, to handle the crowd while we walk out and leave and get ourselves grounded. So we've had to train ourselves to just finish a show and then immediately come back down while people are bum rushing us, talking to us, asking more questions, whatever else. And it's tricky. It's very, very tricky because you're quite agitated. So for those of you that do, like, say, readings, maybe you go to like a reading sphere or you're reading your friends, you're having a little party and you're doing readings and everybody's having a good time. You know, maybe wine is involved, wine and cheese, whatever. If you do that and then you try to go back to normal and you find yourself agitated, irritated, frustrated, that's because you didn't properly close down and come back down. So you're still kind of high up there, and now people in this 3D level is affecting you, and you're irritated. So that's why I said that this can really affect you emotionally, because again, we're using that mental emotional level, and it can also affect your relationships. Because imagine if you did a show and you come home and you didn't really, bring yourself back down, you're still high vibe. So you're super anxious, or you're super increased sensitivity, right? And your partner's talking to you. You could snap at them, right? You can snap at them. You can get mad. You can get whatever. And so it can really break up relationships. So I'm going to pause there before I go further with this talk to find out and check in with everybody. How are you doing? Do I still have you guys? Did I lose anyone? Is this interesting? Did you know this stuff already? Or am I bringing some truth bombs here? So I think it's silent. Okay, still here, still here. Awesome. Truth bombs. Good. So this is why I've been asked to be a mediumship mentor for a while now, and I've been delaying it because I understand what it takes to go into this line of work. And to be honest, for the longest time, I didn't want to be responsible for students and this that they're going to go into. Thank you, Forever G. Zems said, engage listening. Very interesting. Good. So this year is the first year I'm doing a mediumship mentorship program. It starts in July, and it's going to be 6 months from July to December. God help me. God help you. Because it's, I mentor, I mentor in intuitive development. I mentor in psychic development. I mentor and I coach people in many various aspects. But the mediumship mentorship, I am just like wringing my hands with, because I know I need to do it. I know this area needs it. But at the same time, I know how challenging it is and just how crazy this can get. Leah said, it's happened to me being ungrounded when meditating. Someone interrupts and it's like being stoned when snapped out of it. Yeah. Interesting. So with the mediumship mentorship that I will start in July, I already know that I'm interviewing, because I don't want everybody to come to my program. I think like I agreed within myself, I'm not going to have more than 20. I really just don't want to have more than 10, to be honest, because I know that it's going to be a lot with people all over the place. Fuzzy feeling, I don't smoke. Yeah. So one of the things that I have to be aware of is the mental health status of people. As a mentor, I do ask those questions like, how's your mental health? Are you on medication? Are you diagnosed with anything? What's your story? And I had this one gentleman that I had to turn away because he was diagnosed schizophrenic. He was off of his medication. And even then, it's not that I'm saying that I don't work with people who have mental health issues, because I can work with them, but they need to be stable. And this particular individual, he was diagnosed schizophrenic. He was off his meds, and he was a yoga teacher, and he was seeing devils, or I don't even know what he was seeing, people that was advising him to harm people. And I'll tell you that right now, spirit on the other side, they're so freaking intelligent. It's like Einstein coming to tell you, I want you to go kill your sister. What? That doesn't even make sense. Why? Right? So when I start to hear people say that there's negative entities, they have attachments, there's a curse, I tend not to work with them, because that stuff doesn't really exist. If you go across on the other side, hi Sherry, welcome. If you go over on the other side enough, you realize that it's quite intelligent over there. It's highly, highly intelligent, and there's a lot of love. That unconditional love is a real thing. So that's the first thing that I look for is when people start coming to me and saying, I have entities or attachments or whatever, I give them a bit of education about the other side and what it's like. And then if they choose to still stay in that zone of there are negative entities that can harm me, we part our ways. I'm not going to fight with you. I'm not going to dissuade you from what you believe in. But at this moment in time, we are at opposite ends of the spectrum in what we believe. Yeah, it's a very loving feeling. I always love doing mediumship messages for people, their loved ones, when they come through. It's such a great feeling. I feel satisfied. I feel complete. I feel whole. One time, a psychic read for me, and she said, you know, Uma, as much as you're healing people with bringing through messages of their loved ones here, you actually are healing spirit people too, by bringing them closure as well. And that stuck with me so strongly that anytime I feel like giving up, because this gets really intense, because we're going to talk about that in a second, and I feel like giving up, I think about what that psychic told me because it resonated so deeply for me. Why do I say that? Because when I do a successful transmission from deceased father to living daughter, let's just say, when it's done, I get this really amazing warm feeling that washes over me, that I know it's not mine. I know it's like that deceased father almost giving me a hug and saying, thank you so much for this. Like, I appreciate you. And I always used to feel like, am I making that up? Like, that's so strange, because none of my other medium friends have that happen. And when that psychic told me, you're healing the spirit people too, that sent shivers up my spine. I was like, wow, that really makes sense, you know? So that's why I keep doing it. And trust me, I don't want to do it sometimes. It's a very hard gig to pull off. Sherry says, I believe that mediums heal the spirits that need to relay messages. Yeah. Yeah. The funny thing is, Sherry, is they already have peace. Once we die and we cross over in the other side, all the feelings that you have now as a human, fear, anxiety, will my bills get paid? Will he love me? That really just goes, because your consciousness will travel on, but the fears and worries about earth life matters goes away too. So that's a hard part for me as a medium, is letting people know that as soon as they die, they're in a good place. They still have to go through, their own counseling over there when they get over on that side. Yeah, there's a gentleman coming true right now. Yeah, so I guess one of you lost someone. I want to say a man boy, because I feel like he died when he was younger, but it's been some years because he's older, and he's just tapping me. He's just tapping, and that's how it works. Okay, see, like right there, I wasn't planning to do any readings tonight, just wanted to talk about life as a psychic medium, but I guess in a way he's helping me to show you this is what it's like. I can just kind of trail off because I'm very aware of a gentleman that's here. I want to say like he's a brother to someone, and he's taller. He's like about 5'10", 5'11". And I know that he passed when he was younger, and he kept growing. So there must have been like 7 or 8 years past or something, and he kept growing. And I've just completely lost my train of thought. What were we talking about? What were we talking about? I don't even know that name, Sandra. I'm not getting a name. I'm just getting a guy that's standing here in t-shirt and jeans. He looks to be like about 27. So I can't tell if he died at 27 or if he kept growing, and he died like 8 or 9 years ago. So I don't know. He is African American. And I believe there's a love of basketball, because I can hear like the basketball courts and just somebody playing basketball. So, and I feel that he died, oh, your brother passed at 24. And I feel like, I want to say like he was shot or he was murdered or he was killed, because it feels like his life was taken from him. Okay. So you can't take that, Sandra? Because I feel like he's here for his sister. He was white. Okay. So when a situation like that happens, like some spirit just kind of came in, that's fine. Because one of the things when you're starting off with mediumship, you tend to get nervous, like, oh my gosh, I made that up. But I've been doing this so long, I know that this gentleman exists. And either it's somebody else, it doesn't belong to Sandra. Somebody might be watching this on the recording and they'll be like, that's my brother. Spanish? I don't know. How would I know if he's Spanish? I see like a black guy, a brown guy, black guy. So I don't know if he's Spanish. I don't know. But he came in when we were talking about something, and now it's just completely gone because he wanted to talk about, oh, the help. Thank you. He just reminded me. There we go. Thank you. He was saying that when they pass over, whatever issues they had, like anger, rage, depression, whatever, when they go over, then they get help. There's like a council of people that will like walk them through their life review and help them go through their things to kind of like figure out what they need to work on, what was the lessons they learned. And it happens very quickly. Then they just kind of move on from it. You know, people ask me, do they miss us? Well, that's kind of like an emotional feeling, right? That's tied to this 3D egoic plane. So in a way, it's not that they don't miss you. It's just that that feeling has left them. So, you know, they're okay. They're in a good place. Yeah. And the training making it. Yeah. Because we talked about that. And then we went into what happens when spirit goes over on the other side. And I was trying to talk about, you know, that they have like this council, Leah, that this council. I'm sorry. His name begins with H. Can anybody take that? His name begins with H. That is just so strange. So I'm going to let that one go. So what does this look like? Well, the one thing about mediumship, like I always hear people say, can you turn it off? Some mediums might say that they can turn it off. My personal belief is that we don't ever really turn it off. We might lower the sound, we might lower the noise, and get really, really good at concentrating and focusing, but I don't think it ever really turns off. Like for instance, I'm usually very focused, but you see what just happened there with this gentleman coming true? I'm always hearing, sensing, feeling, knowing things. That's always happening 24/7. So sometimes if you're talking to me and you see my eyes kind of wander, I promise you I don't have ADHD. I promise you I'm not bored. It's usually because there's also background noise. Because when people stand in front of me and they're talking to me, I can talk to them and then I can see their mom behind them and their brother or their grandmother. And I can just, you know, I have to do very well at just focusing on what that person's saying and not really pay attention to everything else. So that's why you need to have a stable mind and calm emotions, because it would look kind of crazy, right? As a medium, if you're going around and jumping all the time, like, oh, you know, that's not going to be really great or helpful for anybody. So if you scare easily, you know, if you're afraid of the dark, this might not be the path for you, okay? Because they like to come in the dark, you know, just one of those things. Especially when your eyes get used to the dark and then you see like a body move, you know, if you keep freaking out and you're freaking yourself out, this might not be the line of work for you, right? Because we are dealing with spirit. with ethereal substances. So what we have here on earth is not what we have over there, and feelings. Yeah. He is determined. And yeah, I'm probably going to follow up with you after, because I do feel a connection to you with this gentleman. And I guess I'll just follow up with you afterwards. I think you had told me that you did have a brother that passed, right? And because when I saw Zem's events, I got the tingles again. Right. Yeah. It never turns off, but you learn how to work with it. And this is why one of the biggest things you have to have as a medium is personal responsibility, and as a psychic too. Okay. You have to have personal responsibility, because you can't go around blaming people for what you're experiencing. That's a no-no. You also can't go around asking people to, or like being in people's businesses, because Amy said, could it be my cousin? He is light skinned. His name was Hansel. Okay. Did he pass around 27, Amy? And do you understand the tie to basketballs? And do you understand the tie to he was shot or murdered? 21. Okay. Because you're getting a lot of hits, Amy. You got the H name. He was light skinned. And 21. Do you know about he was killed in a car accident? Okay, so that's why it was sudden. So it wasn't murdered. I guess it could, like, in a way, people could think of it as murder if he was like not driving, right? And he was in the passenger seat. And can you understand the basketball, Amy? His friend was drunk. There it goes. There it is. So you see, guys, I didn't give up, right? Because the gentleman's right here, and he's very adamant about I need to say hello to someone. And he said he was here for his sister, which makes sense because, I probably wouldn't have gotten cousin. I'll be honest. Like, there's some great mediums. I'm a medium. I'm a good enough medium, right? I probably wouldn't have gotten cousin. Okay. Did this happen about 6 or 7 years ago? Right? He didn't give up. He was right here. And that's why it's really hard for beginner mediums, because the minute they throw it out there, like what I just did, it's like, can anybody take that? And people were like, it was like crickets. They get nervous and they're like, well, no, I can't take that. And then I'm just like, yeah, but I know he's standing patiently right here. She said yes with the basketball. Amy, he is a great guy. I want to tell you, your cousin's a great guy. He's very patient. He's patient with me as I kind of fuddled through that, because I'm trying to give a talk on mediumship and bring through his connection. He just wanted, I know you have tears in your eyes. I know you have tears in your eyes. And he just wanted to say hello and to pass along the message to his mom that he's okay. All right. Because I know that this happened like about 6 or 7 years ago. And I know his mom, of course, always still thinks about him. And he's just really, he was a mama's boy, he loved his mama. So he really just wanted to get her to know that he's alive and well, and he's doing okay. And he checks in on all of you guys. Okay. So thank you, Amy, for coming on here and receiving this message. And I'm glad that you were able to receive it live, because I believed in this gentleman that, he was here for someone, whether it was on the recording or on live. That's how that works. So that, my dear friends, is evidential mediumship, right? You saw all the things I gave Amy. I got the age wrong. I said 27, but he was 21. I got that he passed about 6, 7 years ago. His name began with H. He had a love of basketball. He died suddenly. I thought it was murder, like shot. It was a car accident. So I got that wrong. My mentors would be very hard on me with that. They won't let that slide. But I got most of the things right. So basically 2014, there you go, 6 years ago. Thank you, Amy. So So please, 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 if you can, send that message to his mom, okay? Because he knew you were coming on here tonight. And what was with, did you have tears in your eyes? Because that's what I heard very clearly from him. She has tears in her eyes. And oh, Jen put it together. There's my little detective. He is 27. Yes, you are absolutely correct. Thank you, Jen. He's 27 now, right? Because he kept growing. I started by saying that he kept growing. Now I'm getting chills. So question, my timing on the question to you. Uma was terrible. What a great conveying to pass on to her. That's okay. It's a crazy, and Amy, you're going to, because I brought through your connection, you're going to feel him. You're going to feel like this warmth wash over you because you lent your energy to him. So he's going to receive that and then send it back to you. You're going to feel warmth. And for those of you that are mediums on this, you're going to feel part of that transmission as well. How many of you, let's go with the hands again. How many of you got the chills when that was happening, right? Because what you actually were doing, she said, I couldn't control and came to my bed and found you. Sandra said, I never get tired of seeing spirit at work. Isn't it amazing? And that's why I said they're so intelligent. They're so infinitely intelligent that whenever you hear people say, oh, there's something haunting me or there's a negative spirit, don't buy into it, because that's not been my experience. They've been very lovely, amazingly beautiful, intelligent, unconditional love, right? Jen, hands up. Yaya, hands up. So yeah, you guys, you know what you were doing when you were feeling all the tingles and stuff? You were sensing the presence of spirit in the room, but you were also helping me with the transmission. You know, when we do demonstrations, when I go to demonstrations at Archer Finley, I remember this one teacher, she pulled me in front of the room because she was doing physical mediumship, you know, like the transfiguration and stuff like that. And she was looking for strong mediums to put in the front row. I didn't know at the time. I had no clue. And afterwards, I asked another teacher, why did she put me in the front row? Because I hardly knew this teacher. And the teacher, he said that she was sensing for the power in a medium. And she put you in the front to help her with the transmission. So if any of you beautiful mediums here, if any of you ever come to see me and Rob do a mediumship demonstration at Lotus, and hopefully soon at Yaya's place, because I'm trying to get Yaya to bring us to Zen Lounge to do a demonstration, I would love for you guys to sit in the front row, because it really does help to balance that energy and to bring it in. Jen said, do you think the negative is law of attraction? The negative exists, but sadly, that's who they are trying. It absolutely does. The reason why we call it elementals, I'm going to type this out so you can see it, is because we do create the ghosts and the goblins and all of that. We do create it. So if you believe, and I saw this happen with my own eyes, if you believe that someone is capable of putting a curse on you, you can manifest that curse happening in your life. You can manifest a big, ugly, spidery looking thing in your house. You can manifest all of that, because that's why they're called elementals. It comes from your mind. You create it, law of attraction. But spirit can't do that, and they really have no desire to. You know, one of my mentors, Reverend Janet No Havoc, I love, love, love her story that she shared in one class. She said that she went to a house to do a reading for a group of people. And when she pulled up at the door, the lady greeted her and was like, do you hear that? Do you hear that? Can you hear them screaming? If you met my mentor, you could just imagine the look on her face. And I love it. I love her looks, the Janet looks. And Janet said, what are you talking about? She's from New Jersey, so she got the accent. She's like, what are you talking about? And the woman said, right over there. That's an abandoned hospital. Or I think she said a sane asylum. I don't remember. I messed it up. Sorry. But there was like some abandoned place over there where people died or they were tortured or whatever, and they're stuck. They're all stuck there and they're screaming. And Janet was like, have you lost your mind? And you got to hear her say it. She just does it the best. She's like, have you lost your mind? Do you think for a second, and I want you guys to all think about this, if you were locked away in some crazy hospital or insane asylum or whatever, and you were tortured every day of your life there and you died there, when you become spirit and you no longer have a 3D body that contains you, do you really think you're going to stay there? There's this beautiful light. And in the light are all your loved ones, all the people you love. You're going to turn your back on them to stay in this insane asylum? Right? It doesn't work that way. So when people ask me, is anything haunted? I don't really believe so. I do believe, though, that there might be, now this is where me and my mentors disagree a little bit, because some of my mentors don't believe in earthbound spirits. I believe in earthbound spirits, but I don't believe that they're stuck here. I believe they're earthbound because they want to be here. Like maybe a grandma who loves her grandchildren and didn't want to go into the light, not understanding that she can come and go as she please. So if I do come across an earthbound spirit, I let them know, like, hey, when you go into that light, you can still come back. You can. So they do have some people that can do that, right? Cross spirit over that are earthbounds. So when I see these like shows about the haunted houses and you hear like tables being rattled and stuff like that, I think, what it is? To me, I think of like, I'm in my house minding my own business, and then people start coming, tripsing around with cameras and stuff. I'm going to get upset. I'm going to be like, get out of here. Leave me alone in my peace. I'm not bothering anybody. Get out of here. Right? So that's what I think of with the hauntings and all those ghost stories and TV shows. Sherry said, someone said that the 12 disciples anchored energy as Jesus relayed or channeled messages, just like the teacher put you in the front. What do you get? That sounds about right. That sounds about right. You always have to have like your disciples. I don't have disciples clearly, but every year I always have like a group of people around me that really are my protectors and really are anchoring me as I do the work that I do. So I would believe that about Jesus and the disciples. Jen said, I think that people hear things written by light, like a CD. Yeah, that's the light languages and the light codes. There's a lot of people getting into light code work and light languages and drawing of the light, and all the symbols. So that's a true thing. So I think I've talked enough about this, what this is like. What I'll tell you is that it really does wreak havoc on your nervous system and your emotions. And when I first started this back in 2014, it was not good for me and my relationship. Most of you know my partner, Rob Pritchard. He owns the Healing Frequency. He also is a psychic medium. You know what's the funny thing? When I started doing this, I was so shook up. I had so much fear in me. I didn't want to be a medium, honestly. I didn't want to be any of this. I wanted to be a housewife. I wanted to be like a real housewife. I wanted to, have this life where somebody took care of me. And that's all I did. But life didn't have that for me, right? They chose me to do this work, and I'm doing this work. So when it was time for me to do mediumship, I kind of went into it reluctantly. And I had the 3 messages, like, you're supposed to get the 3 messages. And I had 3 different people tell me about Archer Finlay. And the final person who told me about Archer Finlay was my friend Ronnie from Australia. But she didn't tell me about it. She told me we're going. So that's how I ended up going to Archer Finlay reluctantly. Here's how funny, like I said, very intelligent, right? One of my biggest fears used to be the dark. Used to be, because thanks to Archer Finlay College, I no longer have that fear. The Archer Finlay College, while you're listening to me, go ahead and pull up on your computer the Archer Finlay College pictures. Look at that beautiful castle. Okay, that was where I went for training for 4 weeks. Okay, it's a beautiful castle. And I opted to get a single room, not share it with a roommate, with my own bathroom. So when I got to Archer Finlay College with my friends, Jen from California and Ronnie from Australia, I was so excited. Yay, I'm at Archer Finlay College. Yay, we're going to have a week of fun, right? The girls found their rooms. I couldn't find my room. And I was like, where's my room? I'm walking all around this huge suitcase, total American tourist here, you know, dragging this large suitcase around this whole castle looking for my room. So finally, me and my friends had to go back to the front desk and we're like, I can't find my room. They're like, oh, you're in the attic. It's like, excuse me? Attic where? Attic here in this old mansion, castle, old place? The attic? They're like, yeah. So this was crazy. Have you guys ever saw Harry Potter? You know, with Hogwarts, how the staircases are changing? She must have been to the Archer Finley College. Let me just put it that way. Because there was a lot of staircases. None of it made sense. And for me to get to the attic, I had to take like an elevator up to one floor, then staircases across, then down this hallway, then down another hallway. And then I came to the end of this hallway and I opened the door. I kid you not. I opened the door and there was a staircase that went down like this, a little landing, and then another staircase that went up like that. And there's a tiny little door all the way up there. And that's where my room was. I was about to pack it up and just head to a hotel and call it off. I was done. Emotionally, I was done. You know why I was done? Because that little down staircase, up staircase to my room only had one light bulb for that little area, and it was flickering. Mm-mm. Mm-mm. Nope. So I tried to change rooms. Of course, I couldn't do that. The whole place was booked up. So what I had to do was my friends every night, pour them, because I've been like segregated from the rest of the college, right? Everybody's like having fun. Yay, drinks night. Everybody like sleepover. Uma had to walk behind God's back to get to her room. So I made my friends come with me every single night, and I made them come get me every single morning. I refused to leave the room. I even refused to pee. I had a bathroom right there. When I got into bed, refused to. Just not going to do that, right? So the very first night, I get into bed and I'm crying, like literally crying. And I was like, I hate my life. I hate life. I hate everything about life. I get in bed. I kept the lights on for as long as I can stand it because I can't sleep with the lights on. So finally, after 2 hours of the lights on, I was like, finally, I'll take off the lights. I took off the lights and I went to sleep because I was so tired. I woke in the middle of the night and there standing over my bed was a man. I closed my eyes and I said, Jesus, take me now. Because we can't do this all week. We cannot do this all week. Nope. And I prayed to die that night. That was my first night in Archer Finley College. I prayed to die. I can laugh about it now. It sounds so stupid. But I'll tell you what. I learned to love the darkness from that very first trip. Because at the beginning of the week, my friends, like I said, had to come, like they were like my ushers, right? They had to take me there. How his energy felt. Who the hell are you? Why are you in my bed? It's how his energy felt. Yeah, thanks, Yaya. You're laughing your ass off. So the first couple days I had them following me. And then finally I was like, screw it, I'm going to do it on my own. And I went down that dark hallway, lights flickering, shadows moving. And I just said, it's one of these things where you just give up and you let go. And I let go and I said, if you are here to hurt me and to kill me, then do it now. This is the most beautiful place for me to have like a death. It's the way I thought about it. But when I let go of that fear, I actually started to tune in and listen. And they weren't even concerned with me. They were having their own conversations. They were just like students on the other side. So that's how I got over my fear of the dark. And thank God, because future visits there, we had to do seances in the dark. We had to do the cabinet where I had to sit in the cabinet and have transfiguration. That was really cool. That's where your face changes. So when I went in the cabinet, I went into trance and they had like a red light on me and my whole class was watching me. And they said that they saw, I think like 6 or 7 faces that came through. And one person said, I even grew a mustache. So that was really cool. Let me start taking some of these questions. Sandra, opening myself up spiritually has increased the level of anxiety I feel daily. So that's a very good point. It's actually not anxiety. Well, let me not say that because I'm not a medical doctor, but here's what I will tell you. When you're on the mediumship path, when you sense spirit in the room, it feels very much like anxiety. So I have high anxiety, not necessarily because I actually have anxiety, but because I can sense a lot of spirit in the room. So what I have to do on a regular basis is when my heart starts jumping and like my hands start getting cold, like it's doing right now, I say, is there a spirit in the room? Yes. Okay. And then I use my breathing techniques to bring me back down. Okay. So that's what it is. Especially like I said, if you're opening yourself up spiritually, you're meditating, you're doing psychic development classes. If you are a medium, that part's going to come in. And that's why I said it's so important to have a stable mind and calm emotions, because the things that you're going to start to feel like depression, anxiety, OCD, bipolar, but they're not. They're just feelings. Okay? Did I learn anything from him? No, not every spirit you come across needs to be a learning lesson. And especially if, like for me, my biggest skill is clairvoyance. So I see. So I see a lot of people all the time. And just because I see them doesn't mean that they want to interact with me. They're there and I can see them. It's Findlay. Sherry. Arthur Findlay. Findlay. And you'll get to see it. Yeah, thank you, Lee. Yes, Jen. Mediums are always cold. That's why we dress in layers, because you will feel a lot of temperature changes in doing this work. Like right now, my feet are freezing. My hands are cold because there's a lot of spirit here for you guys. Amy does too. Yeah. You know? So, no, he didn't interact and communicate with me. I just saw him. I closed my eyes. I went back to sleep and wished for my death to be early and quick. It's how that happened. Yeah, you will feel a lot of cold. And that's the first thing. That's how you know you're around a medium, because they affect the temperature. And when I'm teaching my classes, I always tell people dress in layers, because depending on what I'm teaching on and what I'm touching on, the room will get really hot or get really cold. And the other thing that you'll notice too is you'll hear a lot of knocking on the walls. I had this one. I used to teach out of my house. My house has a lot of spirit here. And again, just passing through, nobody hanging out for me, no attachments, just passing through. And I was in the basement I used to teach in my basement, and I was in the basement teaching, and this woman thought that my kids were home because she kept hearing walking and footsteps. We all heard the footsteps, but I'm used to it. So when we came upstairs, she was looking for my kids, and she's like, "Where's my kids?" And I was like, "Oh, they're at their dad's house." She's like, "Well, I heard." I was like, "Yeah, because when I'm teaching." Now, that's the other thing too. I don't have spirit living here. They don't live here. They don't stay with me and my kids. No. But when I'm teaching, it's like an opening, and they come here. And then when the class is done, they leave. So, yeah. All right. Let me open this up to some questions, because I know you guys are getting interested and you have your own experiences. How can I help? And remember, I'm only helping from my knowledge, my experience, my wisdom. This is not the be all end all. I'm only sharing with you what I know as a mediumship student and soon to be a mediumship mentor coming July. The creaky stairs aren't going away. Yeah. And that's one of the things, because people are like, well, how do I turn it off? Like I said, you can make a decision to just say none. I don't want to do this at all. I'm done. I don't want to hear, see, feel, or know. And it will shut off, right? Because you'll make that decision. But to me, it's kind of like, what do we say? Like perks of the job, not perks. What's the other, like hazards of the job is you'll just hear a lot of creaking. I get tired of the creaking sometimes too, but I'm just kind of like, well, I can't unhear it because clear audience is one of my skills. Forever G. I love your basement. It's so warm and has great energy. Who are you, Forever G? I'm like, oh, you've come to my house. Ever since I'm on this path, I've become more sensitive and I can hear the knock on the wall. What can I do with all of this? Nothing. There's nothing to do with it. One of the biggest mistakes people feel is that we everything needs to be a communication. That's not true. If you're sensitive, you're sensitive. You're going to hear, see, feel, and know things, but it doesn't mean that you have to do something with it. It's just what it is. What causes a spirit to stimulate the living sexually? I'm going to disagree with you, Sherry. Yeah, spirits can't do that. They can't stimulate you sexually. And I know that people are going to argue with me on this or fight me on this. That's okay. You know, everybody can have their perspective. But they can't, right? If what I would say is if no one was around, all of a sudden you felt sexual with no thoughts about it, I would say that could be hormonal. I would say that could be you, right? That could be like a Kundalini thing. I would also say that you could be in a partnership with someone who thought about you and you felt that, you know. So it can be many different things, but I do know that a spirit can't stimulate you sexually. Jen says, I'm good with it, but I better start talking. Well, you know, again, they don't have to. They only communicate if there's a reason to. So they're not just going to come to you and just have a chat about their day or what's going on because they're bored, or it's not like that. Like, communication takes a lot of energy on their part to come through. So they're not going to waste energy just to come and have a chat. If they're coming, like what we just noticed with, I forgot his name already. I know it began with an H. Hansen, right? As we noticed, he really came through to reach Amy. I didn't see Amy on here, so he was pulling my attention to Yaya. Yaya knows Amy. So he was like really trying to get Amy's attention because he really wants to get his mom's attention to tell her he's okay. Hansel. Thank you, Amy. Hansel. Right? And he's not here anymore because I don't feel him. Even by me saying his name, I don't get a rush, anything. He's gone. He fulfilled his purpose. He came here to reach out, to communicate to his mom. He trusts that I did a good job and that Amy will do a good job of getting over the message. Very smart kid. Oh, I had to sleep where you talk. You were tuned in through Facebook. Got it. Okay. Awesome. So, are there any questions that I can help you with from my my point of view and my perspective? Can they give us evidential confirmation proof, such as my wind chimes, knocks? Yes, absolutely. And the way that they choose to give you evidence differs per person. Like, I have some moms who like to come true, and they love to send their daughters butterflies or pennies. You know, so they'll tell me. Because I'll say to somebody, you know, you've been seeing a lot of dragonflies recently. That's your uncle, you know? So they can totally give us evidential confirmation. Sherry says, since spirit enters and exits around the hospital, my girlfriend thought if I felt a spirit sexually, all I know is that it occurred around a hospital. I mean, it's up to your belief system, Sherry, what you want to believe about that. Enters and exits, I guess, because you're talking about the birth and death at hospitals, right? Yeah. I wouldn't hold too tight to the sexual feeling concerning a spirit. I would probably remember what we talked about earlier with personal responsibility. How much of yourself do you know, and how much of yourself are you aware of? Because we have a lot going on within our own minds. So many times, like 99.99% of the time, it's us, what we're feeling, seeing, sensing, knowing, than it is really, say, spirit. Sandra, when I was grieving one night and crying, I felt the light hand touch on my back. I was alone at home. I sensed that was my father comforting me. That was real, wasn't it? Oh, yeah, totally. Usually when you feel a touch on you, you automatically know who it is without even knowing sometimes the person. Because I had a similar situation back when I went through my divorce and I was grieving one night. I was a young mom to 2 children under the age of 5. I was sad one night. I felt so alone. And I felt this presence near me. And I knew in my heart it was Archangel Raphael. And I could say that to people and people could say, no, that did not happen. And I'm like, that's okay. We can disagree on that. But I knew without a doubt. He actually shattered my light bulb because I've never had an angel come in before, but I was in such a deep grief to the point where I didn't want to do this work anymore. And I think that's why he came in, because I'm meant to be a light worker on this path doing this work. And what happened was I was alone, I was lonely, and I just said, I just don't want to be alone anymore. And I heard him come in my room like a thump, and my whole room shook. And then my light bulb started flickering by my bed, and then it just broke. And I nearly died again, because that was before I went to Archer Finley. So I was sitting there in the dark and I was like, Jesus, swing low that chariot, come for me now, because I was so afraid. But then I felt this presence walk towards me, and then the bed went down and this hand went on my back, and it was like icy hot on my back. It felt so good. And I literally said, because I was so scared, I literally said, whether you're a devil or angel, please don't go. I'm just in a sad state of affairs right now. Just wait until I go to sleep, then go. And I lay down, and this presence lay down behind me with the hand on the back, and I went to bed. But I just knew it was Archangel Raphael. And then I did some research, and some things that came up was about Archangel Raphael. He's the angel of healing. Michelle said, I felt something touch me. Yeah. So I would say that you probably have mediumship tendencies, for sure. Forever G, I came to a few of your yoga and meditation classes about 8 years ago. Wow. That was a long time ago. You're welcome, Sandra. No worries, Sherry. No worries. I'm just trying to, and that's the thing, like why I'm doing these free videos, these live videos, is because I just really want to help disseminate some of this crazy talk we have going on. I'll tell you guys, I went on Friday to the University of Maryland because they're doing testing on psychics, and they're also doing testing on schizophrenic people. And they're trying to see how our brains are different. And I volunteered my time to go there and be tested as one of the psychic mediums. And, I was educating them. I was giving them information about when they were asking me questions on the questionnaire, and I was answering yes to a lot of them, which were questions that can really categorize somebody as suicidal or depressed or anxious or OCD. And I was testing yes for all of them. And the woman was kind of like nervous because they really wanted me for this study. They really, really wanted me to be part of this study. And I looked at her and I said, here's the thing. I know how to answer these questions because I know what you're looking for. You're trying to rule out the possibility of psychosis. And I can guarantee you I'm not crazy. I said, but this is the problem I'm trying to address, because my platform that I'm standing on and trying to bring more awareness to is that there are probably a lot of people in this country that are misdiagnosed as mentally ill. And we need some more eyes, we need some more studies and research on this, because I myself at 19 was told that I was bipolar when I was at college by the college counseling center. And I am not bipolar, but I exhibit as bipolar because of the situations I go through with my mediumship. So one of the things that I'm trying to work on is trying to get them to relook and re-examine the way they diagnose people to see if they really are mentally ill or if they're actually sensitive. So that's why I'm doing all these talks, and hopefully I'm sharing some knowledge that you guys can take away and you can use and you can spread with your friends, and we can stop with this, the fear, the panic, the negativity. It's a really beautiful process, mediumship. It really, really is. Sherry, you got it? It's a beautiful college, isn't it? Leah says, how do we know the extent of our gifts? You train, you practice, you get mentored. That's what you do. Any one of you that want to work professionally, you would do it a disservice if you just trained yourself, or you naturally, evolved as a medium, and then you went out there and started working with people. That is highly, in my eyes, unethical, because there's so much that goes into a session that you need to know how to deal with, and you need to learn from somebody who's been through it. That's why I'm with the best mediums in the world, because they've been through it. They can advise me, they can help me, and they can help me grow. Amy, I used to see members of my family before they died. It happened 3 times. Is that possible that they wanted to let me know? If you saw people, like if you saw your uncle and then he died, then no, he's not sending you an image of him. That is more spirit letting you know that he's about to pass. Because that happened with my grandmother too, that I saw that she was going to die, and then 2 weeks later she passed. So in a way, for me, it was to prepare me and to get me ready, because I'm very close to my grandmother and I love her. I love her dearly. So her passing was going to be very detrimental to me. So because of my visions, I was able to run down to Florida, spend some time with her. You know what was really cool? Because she was losing it at the end, like her sanity. She was kind of losing it. Because she was coming in and out on the other side. And she really was the one who helped me with all of this. And one night I went to bed and my room was next to hers. And in the middle of the night, she came and she was just standing in the doorway. And I was like, Nan, go back to bed. Because I was afraid my mom was going to get up and my mom was going to yell at her. And she just came like a little child. And she just came into my bed. She lifted up the covers. She got under the covers with me and she lay down next to me. And it freaked me out because I haven't slept with my grandmother in forever. And I was like, what are you doing? And you know what she said to me? She said, I want to go home. And I knew she wasn't talking about New Jersey, where she was from. I knew she meant the other side. And I said, you're going home soon, but now is not the time, okay? So I was like, just go back to your bed and have some sleep, and we'll talk in the morning. And then she pointed at the door, and I knew somebody was standing there. I just didn't dare look, because I was like, you are not dying. In my mind, I was like, you are not dying tonight and not in my bed. You are not going to scar me like that. So I kind of like pushed her back to her room. And when I left, as soon as I left, a day later, she passed. And then I had to fly back down again. Or the potential of our gifts. I'm not sure I'm phrasing that right. I've seen doves at times of passing, ×3, and you who, there you go. So you see, this is what I want to say, is that you guys are really talented and you're gifted. So for those of you that are really feeling these things on such a deep level, you might want to find yourself a mentor and start getting training. If we want to expand on our gifts, knowing what is involved, but to expand on our natural gifts, like yeah. So I would recommend you get a mentor, Lee, is what I'm saying. Hearing your name called and no one is around. Yep. That is clairaudience, but it is called subjective clairaudience, because until other people hear it, if you're the only one hearing it, then it's subjective. If other people hear it, then you know that that was the actual like clairaudient transaction that happened there. Okay. I have recommendations for mentors. Minister Colin Bates. You can Google him. He is one of my mentors. Mavis Patilla, the great Mavis Patilla. I think I spelled her name wrong. Reverend Janet No Havoc. She is the closest to us of the Journey Within Church in New Jersey. Okay. Those are 3 of my mentors that I absolutely adore, that I recommend. You can Google all of them online. Mavis and Colin have online mentorship programs that you can join. I don't know if they're open or if there is a waiting list, but you can join their waiting list, because it's worth it. Forever G, are you a Merkaba? I am not a Merkaba. I've been in a Merkaba. It's been quite delightful, but I am not a Merkaba. Sherry, I've been, but I've also been told that I have high trance mediumship by a teacher. I was misdiagnosed as a bipolar 2, cycling faster, and late as having complex PTSD. How do you know? How do you know what, Sherry? And I love trance. Like that's one of my jams because when you get into mediumship, there's actually like there's half of us love active mediumship, which is like the stage people. I'm one of the stage people. I like to do platform, which is like when you go up in front of a group of people and do like what I just did for Amy. And then half of us are passive mediumships where we like to do trance. You just kind of sit there. I did a week of trance at Archer Finley. And it was so funny because Rob would call me on my breaks and he's like, "What'd you do today?" And I'm like, "I sat for 2 hours in trance." "What'd you do today?" "I sat for 4 hours in trance." "What'd you do today?" "I sat for 6 hours in trance." It was like, "What are you doing?" I was blending. I was blending with spirit and I was sitting in trance and just being passive. So there's passive forms of mediumship. There's active forms of mediumship. You can do both, but you find sometimes some people just like one more than the other. And I really like passive mediumship. I like trance. Nor had an ego death experience. I am actually not sure what you're talking about. Oxygen 0099. Am I a Merkaba or had an ego death experience? Sherry, did your sensitivities appear in other ways if you lived in atmospheres that were insensitive? I'm not even sure I understand that question. Did your sensitivities appear in other ways if you lived in atmospheres that were insensitive? Do you mean like if you grew up in a household that was not conducive to your abilities? Is that what you're asking me? I'm not sure, to be honest. I'm not sure what you're asking me. Oxygen 0099, waking up. I did have an awakening. Yes. That is what my book is about. Yeah. I wrote a book. It's called The Awakened Life. It's on Amazon. To find it, you would write my name like this on Amazon. It was published by Balboa Press Publishing. It was featured in Hay House catalog twice, and I've done a bunch of interviews and podcasts about it. And it essentially is about the awakening that I had 10 years ago and what life was like for me and the things I learned. It's a very, very basic book. So when I read it now, I'm like, oh my gosh, this stuff is so simple. Like, but you know, I'm in a different place now than where I was 10 years ago. So I can't hit myself or knock myself for not knowing anything else, right? So when you read the book, you might be like, is this all Uma knows? No, Uma knows so much more now. But that was written at a time when those things were really a big deal to me. So I do recommend that book. It's on Amazon, and it's I think I listed the price as 808 because that's my number. I see 808 everywhere. So yes, I did have a spiritual awakening, and I also had a Kundalini rising back in 2009. Sherry, how do you know if you are a medium or if you are ill? That's a really good question. That is a really good question. And I say get training, because the beautiful thing about training is that you have to do tests. And when you do tests and you have to perform, your teacher can tell you without, favoritism if you're correct or incorrect. If you're incorrect, it means that you are probably seeing, feeling, sensing, hearing, knowing things that your teacher or other people can't validate. And at that point, you want to have a strong self-talk with yourself and say, am I making this up? I have been in mentorship, and I strongly remember one girl, every single message she gave everybody was, I don't want to say wrong. It didn't land. People didn't know who or what she was talking about. And I have a friend who is a psychological counselor, a psychotherapist. There you go, a psychotherapist. And she pulled me aside and said, I actually think she's mentally ill, that she's not a medium. But we never said anything. We just kept that to ourselves because that's not our place, right? Lone photographer 808. Yeah, it's everywhere. What is your dimension then? These questions. My therapist says the ego has to be subdued for the spirit to guide. I totally agree with that, 100%. Um, the ego is really concerned, like, okay, to answer that question, like dimensions, like what's your dimension? What's your frequency? How high do you go? Who do you communicate with? Like, that's all egoic, right? The spirit is more concerned with service. Where's Thanks, Saraima. So spirit is more concerned with service. So, um, like Oxygen 0099, he's asking, or he or she, they're asking really great questions, but I have no clue because none of that really matters to me, like what dimension I am, or, the details of my spiritual awakening. I share about it in the book. I've had some really phenomenal, super experiences. I don't really talk about it because when I get it, I feel very humbled. Like when you get a bracelet that just appears out of nowhere, that's called an apport, right? The first thing I want to do, I don't want to go to Facebook and write about it. I want to sit down, get down on my knees, and give thanks to God and say thank you for blessing me with this amazing opportunity to see that live. It's so amazing. So when I get my experiences, if you ask me about them, I can talk about them, but it's really, to me, it's a private matter, and it's just something that I enjoy receiving. And it's like Spirit's way of checking in and letting me know that you're blessed. We see you. We love you just as much as you love us. And thank you for doing the work that you're doing. 808 is my mentor's favorite number because that represents Sophia to her Mother Earth. That's pretty cool. I never heard about Sophia with Mother Earth as an attachment to 808, but now I will look it up. So thank you for telling me that. I like that. I like it that some things are relatable. Yeah, most things in there are relatable because it's a very basic book. It just really talked about, because at the time I was scared out of my mind. I didn't know what was happening, right? Like most people that are going through the awakening process. So I did have a lot of fear, and that's why I talk and I do these talks, because I know a lot of you have the fear too. And I want you to know there's nothing to be afraid of. It's a really beautiful process. I have so many food. Oh yeah, the food sensitivities, Sherry. You're hitting the nail on the head. Where do you think those sensitivities go? Yep, she is absolutely correct. It is so hard to eat. I'm right there with you. I guess like what you're saying, Oxygen 009, I had an ego death experience. I don't know. I guess. I never really thought about it. I do know that I had an awakening. And I know that because the life that I live now is completely different than the life I lived before. The life I lived before, I was a complete narcissist, guys. All about myself, only concerned with myself. And then after I had my awakening, I became very humbled in seeing the grand scheme of things and just realizing how insignificant my personal life really was, and just how important it was for service. And that's why I do a lot of service. Oh, you're welcome, Forever G. I'm so glad that I was able to help. Yeah, and that dark, sad place, that is another part of this mediumship path. We do go down that rabbit hole very quickly, and sometimes it's really hard to get out. Zem says this feels like deja vu. Oh yeah, the insomnia, because you know what happens? It's not so much that it causes insomnia. What happens is that when you have your awakening, you start to become more in tune with the earth. You become in tune with everything, with animals, with children, with spirit, with the clouds. You become really in tune. So you start to really feel everything. And if there's like civil unrest happening in Haiti, you're going to feel it somewhere in your bones. And you're just going to be like, I can't sleep. I can't sleep. So one of the things I've started doing is being kinder to myself. We all have these schedules. We want to abide by the schedules. So that way we all have this great, big, wonderful lives. You got to let the schedules go. Because let me tell you something. Hands up. Let's go with the hands again. How many of you cannot sleep on a full moon night, right? It's like from 3 days before the full moon. Once you start feeling that full moon energy coming in, I'm up. I can't sleep. And I'll lie there trying to sleep and I can't sleep, right? Are we similarly the same on the other side as here on earth with our service, life, and gifts? Love and gifts. Yeah. Yeah, look, there it goes the hands. Yeah, we're all energetically connected. And that's why, like, there is such a thing as spiritual elitism. And I don't have any room for it. Like when people try to come in and they start like talking about how good they are, how great they are, I'm like, okay. You got to be like Jesus. Jesus got down on the floor and he washed his disciples' feet. That's service, right? Sherry, I am so sorry. She's down to less than a handful of foods. But I will tell you, the sensitivities do pass. Like there was since in the 10 years of doing this, I cycled through sensitivities. So there was a time where I couldn't have any kind of alcohol. Like even just a sip made me nauseous. And that lasted like a good 2 months. And then I was able to have like a glass of wine again and feel fine. Then there was times that I've cycled through where I couldn't have any meat. So it just cycles through really and truly. And the most important thing is that you don't assign too much importance to anything that's happening. You really got to stay in the flow. If you don't stay in the flow, you're going to start beating yourself up. You're going to start making it way more complicated than it needs to be. You just have to trust your instinct and intuition. Like, look at me right now. I am 50 pounds heavier than I really should be. Am I going to lose the weight? Absolutely. When am I going to lose the weight? When it's time to lose the weight. When I talked to my body and I was like, okay, I need to know what's going on because I'm 50 pounds heavier than I normally am. And this was in the last decade. In the last decade, as you guys know, I built 4 businesses to the success level that they're at right now. And my body said, we need the grounding. You're doing way too much psychic and mediumship work, and we need to ground. So we're going to stay heavy here on this earth plane to keep you here so you don't fly off over there. I was like, cool, not a problem. And when I start to balance out this psychic mediumship part of my life, then the weight's going to come off just as easily as it came on. That's it. So, oh, you're so welcome, Leah. I'm really glad that I was able to be of help. I know some of you probably didn't get much out of this, and I apologize for that. And, maybe I'm just not the person of connection for you. And that's not a problem. You can just, head out. That's the beautiful thing about YouTube. You can just head out and say, that's not for me. But for the others, it is for them. And that's the thing. I know who my community is. I'm not here to try to save the world. I'm not here to try to teach psychic and mediumship work to the world. I am here to teach to the people who can hear me. So if you can hear me above the chatter of everything else that's going on within your head, within your life, then we're meant to be connected. And if not, I'm not going to be offended by it at all. We all have our own beliefs that we subscribe to. So I'm just here because my most important thing is we need to have a higher level of psychic work and mediumship work. We need to have a higher level of accountability. I need to see more people having personal responsibility for how they act and what they do with their abilities. So that's why I'm having these talks, and that's why I'm addressing these topics, because the spiritual elitism I really can't do. When people are just kind of walking around saying, oh, I'm a psychic, oh, I'm a medium, oh, I'm a level 5 generator, manifester, incubator, God knows whatever else, right? Like, okay, that's great. What are you doing with it? Okay, that's great. How many people have you served today? Okay, that's great. Where are you going with this? Right? And we need to be doing stuff. For 10 years, like this is the 11th year I've been a professional practitioner, right? For 10 years, I've kept my head down and I've worked. That is why I am 100 people away from working on 10,000 people in sessions. This is not students. I'm not talking about students. I'm talking about in sessions, in private sessions, one-on-one sessions. I've done 10,000, close to 10,000. I've taught thousands of students, okay? I've been working. That's why I haven't been doing these videos or this outreach, because I've just been busy working. And now after 10 years of doing all this work, I feel it's time for me to contribute. But you know what we have? We have a lot of people that are on these YouTubes and Facebook Lives and literally, excuse my French, they're talking out their ass. They don't have any sort of experience. They don't have any sort of knowledge. Whatever knowledge they got, they gained by connecting to spirit by themselves or reading a book, and then they're just kind of reverberating nonsense. So it's like the blind leading the blind. Spiritual elitism yet again. Amy, you are so absolutely welcome. I accept. Thank you. When you teach, you go through one-on-ones. You know, I don't like doing one-on-one mentorship, and I'll tell you why. Because you need to have the practice, right? So when I do mentorship, like some of you, Jen, Sarima, Yaya, you guys are in my mentorship program. You see, like I kept opening it up to at a maximum 25 people, because you need to have different bodies. You need to work with different people. You need to see how this plays out. So if I do one-on-one mentorship for someone, it has to be a really rare situation. Like Ashley, I did one-on-one mentorship, but that's because Ashley flew down from California, lived here for a year to take all my classes, and she worked 2 jobs while she was here to afford my classes and to train with me. So I made an exception for Ashley because she flew out here to do this. She was serious about it, and we did it. So she was in private mentorship with me. Oh, did you get to do your annual reading? Yeah, your annual reading was amazing, Zarima. You were so welcome. It can carry weight for the same reason that it acts like a buffer between you. Absolutely, it is totally a buffer between me and the harsh world. I need to be in a community, absolutely. Don't you know why you don't sleep because of the full moon? I'm guessing, Oxygen, you're going to tell us. Leah, I had sent too early. No group interaction is fantastic because of the experience. Absolutely. You're right about the elite. Yeah, there's just so much going on. Like I see people, you know, I had to do a panel recently. I had to do a LinkedIn Reston panel. And I went to do the panel and I was so nervous because, you know, it was me and 2 other women, and they're great, by the way. Like, I'm not going to bash them. I'm not going to bash them. I'm bashing myself here. They're great. But you know what? They were younger than me, and they had these beautiful companies. And I was like, what can I contribute? You know, like I just felt so out of place. They were so professional. But you know what's funny? I had a lot to contribute to that panel discussion, and it all came from my experience. So when people were asking questions, I was doing a lot of talking, because people were like, well, Uma, what do you think about this? Uma, what do you think about this? And the funny thing was I had a lot of answers to give because of my experience in doing this kind of work. So I feel comfortable now speaking out about things because I feel now like this is the time for me to say things. I'm hoping that I reach the people that are not in it to say they're in it, because sometimes I meet people they're just doing this work because it's a trend, it's a fad. Oh, I went to a psychic development circle, yay, right? And I'm like, nah, don't want to work with those people. But then I get the people like you guys who really have a heart, and you really want to save the world, and you really believe you can, and I believe you can. But I also believe it takes hard work. We have to have a higher level quality that comes through. Right? Like, I'll tell you one thing. With Amy, with her cousin, right? I got the name H. I actually heard Hansel, but I was like, there's no way I'm going to say Hansel. Like, I doubted myself. I'm like, there's no way I'm going to say Hansel and Gretel, right? No. So I said, his name begins with H. The funny thing is, when you're trained in mediumship, they tell you, don't go for a name. Don't ask for a name. Now, the teachers train you that way because it's not because they don't believe you can get it. It's because they don't want you to be upset. If you say a name and you get it wrong, they don't want you to be upset and then like throw the whole thing. So I kept pushing about the name. I kept saying to Spirit, if we're going to be doing this and I'm talking to somebody's cousin or brother, whatever, I need another name. Like, come on, give me a name. Come on, what's the name? Give me the name. And then I started getting names, you know? Can I ask what happens when you don't sleep? When you don't sleep, you're awake and you work. I could go all night with you, Oxygen. I don't know what your questions are or what you're on, but it's fun. It's totally fun. All right, so I'll end with seership because I really should get off. It's like an hour and a half now, so I really should get off. Seership, and please again remember, this is only my perspective. I'm not trying to change your mind about your belief system or anything like that. I'm only speaking about how it happened for me. I am a seer. I can see the future. I did not start with that. I started as a psychic. I've always been a medium, but in terms of my development, it started with psychic. Actually, let's be clear. It started with empathic because I was a healer. I was a massage therapist. And in touching people, the psychic came in. And then in working with the psychic, the mediumship came in. And then in working with the mediumship, the seership came in. That was the way it happened for me. I don't know if it's going to happen for you guys the same way, if it's different, but that was the way it happened for me. The seership came in because of my heart. There was, and I will always remember this, there was this one woman where we were doing a psychic reading and her mother came in to join because basically she was about to go through a divorce. I didn't know anything about this. All I knew was that the cards were showing me something big was about to go down. And then as I kept reading the cards, I said, wow, okay, you are contemplating a divorce. And she was just scared because she was like a stay-at-home mom for 20 years, had no income to her name, had been out of the workforce for 20 years. Her husband was terrible, like all this stuff. She was like in this bad place. And I was praying while I'm reading for her. I was praying like, God, please tell me what I need to say. Like, tell me what I can do to make this woman feel better. And then I saw it clearly what was going to happen. And for me, when seership kicks in, it's like I go in almost like a trance because like it's like time slows down and everything just kind of slows all the way down. And I get this vivid clarity about like everything. Like I can smell things and see things and hear things just very, very clearly. And as I relay it, people tell me later on that's exactly how it comes true, down to the T. So that's how my seership developed, was out of my heart and care and concern for people and wanting to help in that way. Do you find more psychic activity at night or daytime? Is there a connection between that answer and not being able to sleep at night until early morning hours? For me, my psychic activity is during the day because I create time every day to meditate. So I spend an hour in the morning doing my spiritual self-work and my spiritual prep. And so spirit has a lot of time with me to show me things, have me feel things and everything else. What I notice is that a lot of you are not meditating or sitting in the power with spirit or creating space in your schedule for spirit. So the only time your mind is quiet is usually at nighttime. And that's why you start to receive all your impressions that you're supposed to receive during the day. So what I recommend is if that's a problem for you, try when you wake up going at least like 2 hours without sound. So like when I wake up in the house and my kids have gone to school, I don't have the radio on, I don't have the TV on, it's just silence. And in the silence, I create the vacuum where I need to cleanse and clear my mind. So try that and see if it helps you with the insomnia, okay? Don't you have the ego of, I'm an excellent lover? I know you're really golden, but is it about a story of passion? I just think you need to leave us now. So we have just deleted Oxygen 0099. I don't even know who this person is, but they were just becoming a little disruptive. Like the questions weren't even making sense. So the progression of skills, yeah. It's all a progression, and it really comes in because I'll tell you, when I first went to Archer Finley, I was a little bit nervous the first couple times because I had a couple teachers who put down seers, and I was afraid to speak up because I am a seer. I've always been a seer since I was a child. I've been a seer. So, you know, it started like really getting stronger, the accuracy of my seership because of the progression I talked about. The empathic, the psychic, the mediumship, the seer. So when I went there, I would not talk about my seership because I was embarrassed. actually, and I was ashamed, and I felt like I was wrong. I felt like I was making it up. But here's how funny life is. One, all my predictions came true, every single one of them. And two, um, thanks. Thanks. Here we go. Thanks, Yaya, for coming in. Yeah, I'm leaving too in a second. I'm just answering this last question and I'm going to go. So basically, I can't remember like what I was saying. Oh, the seership. So basically, when I was at Archer Finley College, they didn't really like it. But the funny thing about it is now I see like famous mediums offering classes on seership, like Tony Stockwell. I saw that he had a class on seership. And I'm like so happy because I know that there's seers in the world. And I know that we need to kind of come back up because we used to be the oracles. We used to be the people that would talk on things and share things, and the prophets and prophetess. So it's not something to be ashamed of. It's something to be talked about, though, for us to get the word out about. So, yeah. All right. I have to go because it's been a long night. Thank you, guys. I see that you guys have a lot of questions. So what I will promise you is that I will create another YouTube live, and I'll probably call it again, Life as a Psychic Medium. So that way you guys would know it's not going to be the same talk. I will come on to take your questions. I think you guys, everybody except Oxygen 999, everybody had great questions that contributed to the value of this talk. So thank you guys for contributing, because when this goes on replay, you're helping other developing psychics and mediums. So that's your way of service, right? You guys just went ahead and gave your bit of service as well. So thank you for that. I really appreciate you. Awesome. So good night, guys. I'll see you soon.